Welcome to our second episode of the Financial Fofu podcast.
Woo.
We're in season 5. We're pretty happy about this. Come on, Trudi.
Yeah, we are pretty happy about this. I'm actually quite impressed that we've managed to make it to season 5.
I know. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is.
It's kind of crazy, but we're here nonetheless. So today we are talking about, what are we talking about?
We are talking about the customer journey,
which interesting
maybe has different meanings for different people. But Sarah's going to be our expert today. But to me, the customer journey is really that journey from when did a customer first make contact with you? So maybe they saw a social media post or maybe someone recommended them to you. And then all of the various touch points that maybe you have with that customer, all the way through for them to maybe buying your product and service and then after service on that product or service as well. So like that whole journey from start to finish. And then maybe that cycle goes again.
Yeah. So you've pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Yay.
Customer journey is about from awareness, the initial touch point, how do they find you or first become aware that you exist, all the way through to their entire experience with you, right throughout the sales buying process. That's also called the buyer journey if you're selling a product or a service. That usually ends once they've bought from you. The customer service journey goes all the way through, even after for post settlement of your transaction or post-product purchase to how you communicate with your customer in your after sales process. So it's a cycle, as you said, that can continue because they might become a repeat customer. They might also refer customers to you as well. So whilst they may not be an ongoing customer, the fact that they are still part of your their customer journey doesn't end with their buying journey, and they still might be present in your business, especially now with social media. It was more difficult back in the olden days, pre-SM, because it was harder to stay in touch with people. Like you used to have to continue to build your brand awareness through advertising, primarily through what used to be known as mainstream media, publications, magazines, newspapers, TV, radio, was the way you continued your customer journey back in the day. But now it's a lot more in your face, or it can be in your face, and it's easier to stay in touch, easier than ever, as they say, to stay in touch with your clients, but harder to be seen. So so that's the customer journey. Why is it important?
I would say it's important because if you don't understand that journey and like where your customers are actually finding you from and how they're finding the experience of engaging with you, and then also the after, are they actually referring you, or do they get to the end and they're like, I don't want to deal with you ever again? If you don't sort of understand that process, then how do you understand how your clients feel about you and your product, and how do you understand how to improve that situation so maybe they are becoming repeat customers or referring to you and so forth?
I had a client recently that does a type of work where it's like a once-off job. They come into your house, they fix your bathroom or your kitchen. So if you've got leaks and you've got a leaky shower, or the kitchen sink is just not waterproofed properly and behind in the cabinetry and it's leaking, because you can get a plumber in to seal it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's the damage that's been done behind has been fixed. So they do that type of work. And I said to her, what's your repeat business like? And she's like, 0. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, we do our job properly. So there's no reason for them to get us to come back. I was like, okay. I said, so, but what are you doing to encourage them to refer you new clients? And they said, nothing. So their customer journey finishes pretty much the day that they pay their bill and the trades walk out, and they haven't developed the customer journey to be more engaging past that date. So I suppose the first thing to do if you're looking at your customer journey is do an assessment on what is it. In one of our previous episodes, we were talking about inefficiencies, and Trudi, you mentioned to write down everything. Well, it's the same thing that we do with customers. Sorry, the same thing we need to do to understand how our customers interact with us, what happens at each individual stage, and then are there micro stages between each stage that they actually have an integration or an involvement with us that need to be assessed. And then does the customer journey, when does it end? Can you extend it? Is there value in extending it? Or is it more efficient to end it earlier? Like, all of these things are really relevant to do. And not a lot of businesses do them. Like, there's, I suppose, a lack of understanding of what it is or why you would
Yeah.
do it. I often do it with my clients when lots of people come to me because they don't have money or they're lacking profit. And we talked about inefficiencies for a reason, because it's one of the first things you can look at as to save money and time, and effort, and therefore get more profit. But the next thing we would usually look at is the customer journey and how that your systems and processes should really be built around how your customers interact with you, and then how your business interacts with your customers, so that your staff or you can complete your work in a way that makes life easy for you and profitable. But they don't actually map it out. And then that has all these other flow-on effects into other things, like, so you want to do some marketing or advertising, but you don't know customer journey, or you want to bring in a new staff member to take the pressure off what you think is missing in your customer service piece, but you don't know because you haven't mapped your customer service journey. Sorry, smacking my mic with my chin there. There's so many different things that the customer journey impacts that perhaps we just aren't aware of because we aren't aware of our customer journey.
So for me, one of the really easy pieces I find at the beginning is you take on a new client, ask them, how did they hear about you? Or where did they find you from? And for me, that then gives me a couple of avenues of, well, these are the key places that I'm finding my customers from. So therefore, they're the
where
key
to
ways
invest more time and energy,
getting more clients in. And, as an accountant, it's often referrals. But that then means I need to focus on the rest of my customer journey and providing that really good service so that at the end of the journey, the customers are going to refer somebody else to me. I mean, I would do that anyway. I want to provide a good service to my client. But and then often, every now and then I do have one that just comes from they've done a Google search and they like the fact that I had reviews, which then solidifies my decision to ask people to give me reviews because it's actually working for me.
Can you automate your asking for reviews? Right? So that you don't have to manually do it, because that's something that should be part of your customer journey, and therefore it should be a system and process, and therefore it should be automated. Right? So it's I suppose when we're looking at the overall picture of business, like, this is one of the fundamental things that then leads into the outcomes that you have in how you design your business. So business by design is really important. We often use the analogy, you don't drive from Melbourne to Sydney by Adelaide unless it's by design. The same thing applies here. You don't send your customers on a ringer to either work with you or for you to get the information out of them unless it's by design. And in the mortgage broking industry, this comes up a lot about, there's a lot of things that we have to do from a compliance point of view now to even be able to tell a client whether or not they've got capacity with a lender to borrow any money. And to do that, there's like a billion steps that have to happen beforehand. And that part of the customer journey sometimes isn't actually communicated to the customer. And also customers don't want to do it because they're like, why do I have to give you this information? Can't you just tell me, right? So the communication piece gets better when you understand the customer journey and when you know how you want your customers to interact with you so that you can give them the best quality outcome, because really that's the purpose. Then you have to be able to demonstrate to them why it's really important for them up front to give you this information. So because it's more efficient for them, they'll get an answer faster and they'll get the right answer first time around. But communicating that sometimes to mortgage brokers can be really interesting because, again, they haven't mapped their customer journey. And when I work with them and we map their customer journey, they go, oh, that's why. I have a close friend in the industry that always struggles to get documentation off customers. And he's like, did you ever have this problem? I was like, no. And he was like, why not? And I was like, because I told them if they didn't give me this information, I couldn't give them an answer. And their file would sit on my desk until they gave it to me. I wouldn't do anything until they gave it to me because you can't. Like, you actually can't. So me chasing you 10 times for documents isn't going to work. I just told them up front with an engagement letter that this is what you'll get from me, but this is what I expect from you. And that solved all of that problem. So it's super interesting as to how you communicate then that what you think your customer journey is versus what they think their customer journey with you is.
Could we maybe do a really brief example? Let's say we're selling a bag. So
we're upgraded from
I know you don't like
upgraded from fidget spinners to bags. Finally, a real product.
So if we're selling a bag, where would we start? So maybe we would start with someone might find you on Instagram or Facebook because they're doing some searches and your reel popped up with you advertising?
I would probably say that your customer journey starts before that. Your
Okay.
customer journey really starts when you decide what the bag's purpose is,
Okay.
why you're in business, the reason that you're designing this product, what you want to achieve from the product, and then how you're going to sell the product.
Okay.
That's really where the customer journey starts, not with they've found you, because they can't find you if you haven't answered those previous questions.
Okay.
So when you've built your website, then the flow that they go through in the user experience and the user integration of your website, which is UX or UI, if you've ever heard it referred to that way, is all built around your customer journey in the first place.
Okay. All right.
So back to your bag question,
Mm.
if you've answered why you're building this bag or why you've designed this bag and what the purpose of the bag is, that will then answer who your target market is.
Yep.
And then you would build your customer. Yeah, right. And then you would build your customer journey around then how do you then sell and market this bag to that target audience.
Okay, perfect. So we go from that to, all right, where are they going to find us? So then we build, I guess, the avenues for them to find us, whether that be social media or in store or just a website or whatever the choice may be.
Yeah, whatever your markets is another one still working quite well for people.
All right.
Yeah.
So customer finds us, maybe takes a couple of times of finding us in different ways before they decide they want to buy from us.
Purchase. Yes.
And so I guess the next step is how do they actually purchase the bag and the experience of making that purchase?
So we're now in the buyer journey, which is a segment, you could say, within the customer journey. And we work through the flow of how they buy it and what happens at each stage.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this is mapping out what happens at each stage. And I have done this with marketing team I used to utilize on big windows in a market room with chalk markers, and we wrote all the way around the room. So there's lots of different ways. There's also some like customer journey, mind map softwares that you can use as well to map this out, or I just like the old-fashioned piece of paper and draw a line. It really depends on where you're at and how you like to record data. For me, my brain works better writing it down on hand to paper, and you would map it that way. So they go through your buyer's journey, however that is, whether it's a shopping cart online, whether it's in-store purchase.
Markets.
And they have different outcomes because if it's an online journey, obviously there's going to need to be emails and phone numbers and credit cards data collected versus if it's an in-store journey or at a market, which is effectively retail, what happens then, because it's not necessarily you collecting the customer data to have the buyers. So when you're considering how you sell your product, your buyer's journey may end with retail at the end of that purchase, unless they choose to re-engage with you through your other channels. Join the mailing list, jump online for a coupon.
Whereas on a website, often you're ticking a box that says that giving permission to go on a mailing list as part of that purchase. And I guess with an online order, part of that buyer's is also what's the delivery experience like.
Correct, right.
Whereas in store, obviously, they're getting that immediate handover of the product.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, I was reading something this morning. It was actually on Instagram. I was watching a video of a new business that I started following. I like what they're about. And I was just looking at some of their previous commentary or reels or posts, and they pretty much said they'd been asked a lot of questions as to why weren't they doing Christmas like bundles or bonuses or like a pre-Christmas sale or an offer. And they said it's the busiest time of the year. We use Australia Post. Australia Post can't guarantee delivery. And we didn't want our customers to expect an outcome from us that we couldn't deliver on. So we checked with our other delivery partners, so your other couriers and stuff, and they too couldn't honour a delivery timeline. So we've decided to not do that. We will instead do Boxing Day sales or the like. And I thought that's actually really cool that they've come to market to explain that. One of the other ways they could have done it, though, was to plan a little bit earlier, get in a little bit earlier and say our Christmas orders are up in October. We will have a cut-off date of the 1st of December. If you haven't done your order by then, then we cannot
But that
guarantee
also
you
comes
directly,
back to
right? So
who
you're
is
back
their
to
customer.
communication.
Maybe their customers aren't organised enough
Correct.
to be wanting to buy Christmas presents in
Exactly.
October and November. Their customers are ones that are thinking about it in
Exactly.
December. So therefore, it may also come back to who is their customer. And they knew that
That's
that was not
exactly
going to work for their
right.
customers.
Yeah, and so like all of these things are really relevant when you design all of your business
Mm.
pathways. And as a business owner, it's really hard to control the outcomes of the experiences that customers have if you're reliant on a third party source for
Yeah.
delivery. I
Yeah.
had this experience with a business at Christmas and it didn't actually impact me. And so I didn't really care so much because I wasn't at my house. But my package got delivered within time for Christmas. Not that I'd ordered it as a Christmas present, but it came within the time that she told me it would come. But they delivered it to property 50 kilometers away and took a picture of the road, as in the asphalt, as the delivery address. So we couldn't track it through the post. And I was like, can I get some help to track it? She's like, I'll just replace your order, which I thought was amazing. And also not necessarily her obligation to do so.
Yeah.
But she said to me, she's like, but I can't get it. I send it with a courier because then I know it will get to you, but I can't get it to you for 10 days. And I don't know, it was like the 22nd of December and she thought I wanted it for Christmas. And I was like, no, that's fine. And she actually said to me, thank you so much for being really open and accepting of the delays. Some customers have been really horrible this week about missing packages. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting.
And it's hard when that's so out of their control.
Yeah, and so if we're looking at the customer journey and how that impacts your business, it's something to be aware of. And then that comes down to how do you communicate that with your customers, that if it's a product that requires delivery and the delivery service is not reliable, it's not even that it's slow, it's not that you don't know whether the parcel will actually get delivered to the house. Like that's a huge issue for you and your business as to how you come to terms with it. The other one that I'm seeing at the moment quite regularly is like a scam where like they say it's not been delivered. You've got evidence that it's been delivered and then you get a charge back through credit card saying so they've actually got your product and you have to pay for it. Oh, and then you have to incur the fees for the charge back as well. So your customer journey needs to be very clear about what you accept for chargebacks and refunds and how you go about verifying the order. So I have seen as well some businesses, you put your order through online, then you get an email that says, we're confirming that you have ordered this. Can you please confirm in writing that this is you, this is your credit card details, and you are actually, then it's a double order. So it's a double order confirmation. So it's much harder to do a chargeback on. So again, how do you communicate that within your customer journey is really important, because I'd probably be annoyed if I just put my order in and then I got an email saying confirm that it's you. So wording is really important, language is really important, and all of these things.
Maybe that's something that's made clear when you place the order, that we will actually get you to confirm this. So therefore you're then expecting that email rather than it being a surprise.
Communication, right? So communication and effective communication goes hand in hand with your customer journey and the outcomes that come with it. So if you haven't looked at your customer journey, today's your day. Find a way that works for you to look at doing your customer journey. Yes, there are people that you can employ to help you with this, whether it's a design, marketing, brand specialist, whether it's a business consultant as part of business planning. I do some of this work. I am by no means an expert, as Trudi tried to say at the start, about customer journeys. But what I can tell you is I've spent a lot of time assessing customer journeys within my clients' businesses, because it's really fundamental. It's part of that business foundational stuff towards everything else that you do. Because if your customers aren't coming back and buying from you again, if you've got a business that has repeat business options, there's something wrong with your customer journey, and it could be the fastest way to flip your profit, because it is cheaper to keep an existing client than to find a new one.
It certainly is. And I think it's also important to remember that your customer journey is not necessarily a straight line. You know, there may be forks in that road. For example, product delivered successfully, product not delivered. You know, that's a fork in the road. One customer is going to have one sort of journey, whereas the other one's going to have a different sort of journey. And the key is to making sure the one that's had the product not delivered comes back to that same line as the one that's had a good journey and is happy with your outcome at the end.
And ultimately, like most things in life, it comes down to communication. Relationships are built on quality communication. And the word effective communication gets thrown around a lot. But at the end of the day, if you're conscious in how you communicate and you try and have the foresight to anticipate any of those potential problems and explain your position on them up front, there's transparency there, which leads to authenticity.
Yeah.
And authenticity is one of the key drivers these days for why people purchase. If they believe that your brand is authentic and that you are authentic, they're more likely to do business with you again.
Yes. Completely agree. And we want them to do business with you again because we want you all to have very successful businesses. So if you've never mapped out your journey, this is your cue to sit down today with a pen and paper or an iPad or whatever your preferred choice of writing is and start mapping yours
Office
out.
with lots of walls and a chalk marker.
Yes.
Mark out your journey. Try and do it as best you can. Then get someone perhaps as a colleague or one of your staff to have a look at it and see if there's anything
or even
missing.
a friend or a partner or someone to come in and say, if this was your journey, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just check that you're actually looking at it from the right point of view, or you're covering off the right things. And then find a way to then use that data and put it into your business systems so that you're getting beneficial outcomes from it and you're getting better quality client outcomes, because ultimately that's the damn point. Alrighty, so next time we're actually talking about, what are we talking about, Trudes?
We're talking about
next
quality
episode?
Client outcomes. I was just thinking,
See what we did
there.
See what we did there. Until next time, guys, we look forward to it. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.